Hey guys, welcome to the first official interview for Thompson's Coins. I've gone straight to the top of the social media food chain, and we have here Joel Kandiah, also known as the History of Money. You've probably seen him in the media or on TikTok if you're surfing that part of the internet. How you going, Joel?
Yeah, good, Matt. Good, great to be with you.
Thanks for coming on board. First official interview. It's very exciting. I always get this. I feel like I'm a little starstruck because I see you all over the internet and in the media. And here we are. This is cool, man.
No, I should be starstruck with you after your interview with Russell Howcroft the other day. So
Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I didn't know that was such a big deal until my mum called me up and said, "Oh yeah, I'll listen to Ross and Russ every morning." So it was very exciting.
you got that boomer target market down pat right there.
It's all good fun. So give me the introduction. What's the story? How did you get into coins as a hobby?
Oh, my story's a bit weird, I guess. So when I was about 5, I really didn't talk as a kid. My parents were pretty concerned, and so they took me to a speech pathologist in West Perth, and several sessions went by and whatnot, and there wasn't a bit much progress. And then one day she put up a range of stimuli in front of me. From this is what I remember sort of vaguely from my memory, plus reading the report well down the track. And one of them was a cash register and some play money. And I've gone straight for that, and I've just started conversing like right away, like playing to play money and all that kind of thing in the cash register and whatnot. And so my parents just started like just feeding my coin collection. They started giving me stuff from, just let me play with normal money or just money to bring back from Malaysia, that kind of thing. And then from there, I just sort of grew my collection from that. So as a primary school kid, into high school, I was pretty well into it. And then I got into uni and sort of fell out of it later on down the track where, you're sort of discovering, your mates and hanging out, going out a lot, and your vices as well, I guess, at the same time. But it wasn't really until I started teaching. So I did a double degree in commerce and economics during uni, and I realized I didn't want to go into banking. And so I want to be a teacher. So I did my grad dip straight after. And then, started teaching in 2013. And yeah, it was kind of conversations with students about, my I guess, drive to teach was about financial literacy. And so, being discussing things like that and whatnot. And then suddenly the conversation started going towards coins and banknotes. And it wasn't until the previous school I was at where a lot of my students were intrigued about my fascination with coins and banknotes and all that kind of thing. So I had this big money wall in my classroom, like banknotes from all around the world on this thing and whatnot. And they sort of, that school, they knew me as the money guy. So like, for example, in 2016, when the new $5 note came out, I went to the bank, got a whole bundle of fives, and had like an exchange session at school. So kids were coming to swap their notes for the new fivers and all that kind of thing. It's just really exciting in that sense. And then so that's sort of carried on, but in a bit of a sort of low way where I sort of rediscovered my hobby, but I wasn't really going full back into it like I was as a kid. And then this jumper sort of came when I was drunk one day at a music festival and designed on my phone when I got bored watching Angus and Julia Stone. So I like sort of designed it on my phone, sent it around to China, and it came 3 weeks later, got the hoodie. This was about 2019. And then 2020, first lockdown hit, and like my kid's asking me, he's like, "Oh, sir, you're on TikTok? You're on TikTok?" I was like, no, I'm on the Tim Tams, not on the TikTok, and I said when I was just bored, it was like, all right. So just did a video about like the history of the $5 note. So like from the paper version for the all the different versions that have come through, and all of a sudden it got like 75,000 views. I was like, what? People like this stuff. People are intrigued.
Yeah.
And there's like another video later where I was like, I reposted a video from a Canberra trip in 2018 where I'm in front of Parliament House and I hold up a $5 note in front of Parliament House. It's like, oh, that's the linkage, just taking Mickey out of it. And that also went a bit viral as well. So I started posting little videos in it, but I didn't know where my sort of target market was in terms of, I guess, what I wanted. So I didn't want to do financial literacy, or do I want to do coin collecting, banknote collecting stuff? And it seemed pretty clear down the track the coin banknote collecting started to become the more prominent thing. And 2020 just sort of hovered through. By the end of 2020, I had 2,000 followers. I think I was in the news once, which was like weird. Like all my students were like, oh my God, sir, you're in the news, you're famous. And
Yeah.
it's like, whatever, it's fine. And then I wrote an article for Money Magazine as well, which was also pretty surreal back in 2020. And then 2021 last year was just when it just sort of exploded out of nowhere. And it might end up being my Achilles heel where I started doing videos on coin values.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on that, because I think I've regrets about that. But
You've got a bit to
to
answer
where I am
for,
now.
mate. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll get that later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it just sort of blew up by February. I was like 10,000 followers on TikTok, and then yeah, I hit 100,000 in the start of this year. But yeah, then that's sort of where my collecting came back into for, like where I started building up my collection again and started looking at things where I like. But also, more importantly, I saw my strength as a collector to educate others rather than trying to grow my own collection. So I'm not here to try and find the rarest thing or trying to find the next thing I can flip a profit of. It's more so take a little look closer at your notes and coins, and you're going to find some intricate details, because in a way, I think you probably appreciate this. Coins and banknotes are essentially a piece of art, you know, where you don't realize how much detail, the process that goes behind it, all that thought process, and you know, the discussions. Like, I've read that many Reserve Bank of Australia papers on banknote design and other central bank papers on that, and reading through pages of annual documents from different mints around the world, and sort of know, all right, this is a really big deal in terms of something that we take for granted a lot. And I think that's where my thing about coin collecting and banknote collecting, where it comes from, it's like, let's turn something we take for granted, but something's actually becoming less common as people move towards digital payments, into something that we can think tangibly about and actually look at it and appreciate what it is in there and the process that happens behind it.
Absolutely. And I've always said that whenever people ask me about the value of coins and things like that, that's such a nice comparison to draw. I say, you know, you take a piece of art, in a frame up on a wall. It's the same thing. It's just a much smaller canvas, and there happens to be often more of them. So yeah, I love that appreciation that you have in the little things, in particular the details. It's such a good hobby.
Oh, it's the best, honestly. I don't see, it's just, and it's like weird, annoying. The annoying thing is when people ask you, oh, why is this $2 coin worth more than $2? Is like, no. You got to look at it differently. Like, we pay more for art, we pay more for bottles of wine, we pay more for sports memorabilia. It's just, you just got to look at it separately as not a form of currency in that point. It's just more so, this is something that's unique and rare, and we like to collect. You know, you might collect cars, you might collect, you know, whatever you collect. It's the same premise that applies to it.
Absolutely. And I think in that your opening response, you've probably answered 3 or 4 of my questions, but I wanted to go back to the beginning and what inspired you to start the TikTok. So was that, it sounds like it was inspired by some students that were asking you if you're on it. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. I pride myself as a teacher building great relationships with my students. I think if you can't build those relationships, you can't be an effective teacher. And so listening to what they have to say and what they think is, you know, the cool thing or the right thing. Obviously setting your professional boundaries and all that kind of thing, but understanding, all right, these kids are really into TikTok. I'm going to delve into it and see what this whole thing's about. All right. And so it took me about a good month to sort of look around and whatever. And then one day I just took the Mickey and just like, cool, I'm just going to put this video up there and see what happens. And lo and behold, it just sort of, and it didn't like blow up straight away. It was like literally after a week, it's just like, oh, okay, why is this getting a lot of traction out of nowhere?
Yeah.
This is weird. But then I was like, okay, it seems to be a niche for it. And I think the great thing about TikTok is that people are able to show their niches off. Yeah. And the algorithm will then funnel people into those niches as they discover more. So it becomes a app of just that. On one half, it's sort of, you don't want to get stuck into that mindlessly scrolling part of it, because then you're not really taking it in. But on the other hand, it's like, cool, I like this video. I'm going to try and find other like videos and learn from that. And that's sort of the way I've been going through that. And so my students were very pivotal in helping me get that off the ground. And then since then, like, yeah, their support. And even like, because I just left my last school 3 weeks ago to go to a new school in a promotional role. And then still then you still get comments on there. It's like, sir, we miss you, sir. Come back. It's like, you know, and you realize that, you know, they're the ones that sort of, they got me into it, and I can't thank them enough for that.
Oh, that's so good. That's so impactful. And a lot of people also comment, particularly with me being a presence in the industry, that it's
Mm.
that they're fascinated that a comparatively younger person is so interested in numismatics and collectibles and all that sort of thing. But I imagine your experience would be, being in the role of a teacher and running the TikTok and things that you do. You must see the other side and the up and coming generation of collectors. What's your experience like with that?
Yeah, I think it comes from my personal experience as a kid where I felt I was the only person doing it, you know. And yeah, I think you might feel the same in that sense as well, where oh, like, why is none of my friends into it? Why isn't this happening? And so, and I think, and I tell this to other teachers around, it's like show your unique strengths and your diversity around, because we tell our kids to be true to themselves. You need to be true to yourself. And so I think for me, being able to share my hobby to them, it gets them curious, like, why is there such a thing? And now I've got a lot of kids who are into it. On top of that, I've got a lot of students who are seriously into it and who are doing the research and getting the books and making the investments in what they want to purchase. And I think that whole thing now, and I think we're seeing that right across the country, especially teenagers on TikTok seeing that. And some may be misguided, and we'll get into that later on. But some are like, oh wow, like my dad's got this, my grandparents have got this, and now realize the significance of this. So it's more so, it's always been there, and it might be in the back of the mind due to a connection they may have had as a kid through their family or whatever. But now getting access to this information and then creating the linkage is now allowing them to enjoy the hobby as well. And I think the Mint sent the annual report recently is that now 1 in 4 Australians are into coin collecting. I'm not too sure about the accuracy of those numbers, but there's definitely a massive growth. And I've been to a lot of dealers around and whatnot. There's like, we've not seen growth like this ever, especially in the last, 2-3 years, where it's just been so many people from so many different walks of life are now getting into the hobby.
And I think it's so nice because the barrier to entry is so low in that even in a lot of the videos that you've highlighted with something that we'll touch on now. I remember managing the coin shop in Sydney. Each day that I would come in and the phone would be ringing off the hook with people asking about their $2 coins. I'd say, I bet Joel's been in the news again. And they've absolutely taken the ball and run with it. So there'd be like a collective groan in the industry. But I really do. I also have to thank you for that on behalf of the industry at the same time, because things like that do so much to get people, like you said, just looking at their coins and taking an interest, which can escalate into such a rewarding hobby.
Yeah, no, that's it. And yeah, I part of me, I consistently kick myself for sometimes the news that spreads from my videos. I think a lot of the media outlets sometimes, like, I'm not surprised by the media, but they tend to misconstrue what I said. And I think there's one big thing where some people got confused whether the HH $2 coin was worth 10 grand, which clearly isn't. But I still get messages every week about it. I was like, are you kidding me? But and I went up to the Purple Penny in Adelaide 2 weeks ago and spoke to Mark there, and he's like, yeah, like my videos have just sort of sparked that interest for people coming in, asking questions, and then whether they make the decision whether to continue or not continue. And a lot of people are actually choosing to continue. And like you said, the barrier to entry is low, but I think for me, growing up as a kid and trying to get into the hobby, I got so intimidated by like going to a coin show, going to the Anders shows were massive back when we were growing up, right?
Yeah.
Where they used to be like, for example, in Perth, they used to hire out a ballroom at Crown Casino.
Yeah.
And there'd be dealers all over, not just Australia, but the world in there. And then you weren't sure that you were getting the right advice or you're being taken for right because you were sort of misguided. I still remember I got gypped off selling my $1 mule 15 years ago for $110.
Really?
Yeah, I just got gypped. I was like, I knew it was worth a bit more than that, but they're all saying, oh no, it's not that. I'm just like, yeah, now I'm sort of kicking myself that in the back of my gut in that sense.
Yeah.
And they're still sort of doing, some of the older dealers who aren't realizing this, or they think they can still take unsuspecting collectors for a ride. Like, for example, I had a Coombs Wilson, so I had a Coombs Randall $20 note I found from my mate who works at the bank, and got it in, and sort of I'm I don't mind not having it because I'm also the historical value rather than. I was like,
Yeah.
cool. If I sell this, I can buy some other stuff that I really, really like. And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
went out to a couple of dealers, and I knew it was worth a bit more. And I was like, oh, I can give you 60, I can give you 70, I can give you 80. I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, what kind of person do you take me for?
Yeah.
And then
What?
I went to Andrew Crellin, who's an awesome bloke, and he's like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
this is the fair value. I'll pay the fair value for it, and I can, because I understand dealers need to make a margin on what they buy from someone, which is fair.
Yeah.
It's going to be 20, 30, 40% less catalog value. But don't take people don't assume people are stupid, because now you've got the internet, you've got Facebook groups, you've got that much literature on the information they need. People are like, yeah, I can go to a dealer, or they can bypass other people and just go straight to a Facebook group and sell it there, which is also, you're sort of liberalizing it in terms of this buying and selling, but you're going to put yourself to a lot more risk in terms of not getting the right information or the right idea. Because then this is why I say, and I've spoken to a lot of dealers about this, there is a place for dealers in the current market. It's just dealers are willing to adapt. So people like you, people like Kay from Transmission Coins, people like Andrew Crellin, they're able to understand this is how the market's changing. Let's take advantage of this and try and connect with the new buyers. Let's empower them with more information rather than trying, that whole lemon theory where you buy a used car of someone and they know defect and they don't, and so they try to sell you a lemon in that.
Okay, yeah.
So getting rid of asymmetric information.
Yeah.
And getting, as I think it's within dealers' best interest to empower the collectors with more information to make an informed decision in that,
Totally
rather than
agree.
saying,
yeah.
And I think that's where you build trust. That's where you build connection. That's where you build loyalty, and that's where you build ongoing relationships with your customers through there.
Yeah, and I think that, and I always talk about this, I sort of waffle on about it quite a bit, but I think, and as a lot of your videos lean into is informing, and I always say to people, the more you learn, the more significance these things can take on. And yeah, the more empowered you are to make an informed decision. Don't just come to a dealer like myself or any of the other dealers in the country or the world and just rely solely on their word. Whilst a lot of them are experts in their fields, you need to be comfortable with what you're doing as well. So the more you learn, the more you research, the more fun you have as well. Because then when you find those things, you find a Coombs Randall $20 note, it takes on a bit more significance because you know what you're looking at and you appreciate it more. So that's half the battle, the information part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think at the moment, whilst there are a lot of groups and Facebook and forums and stuff, I think in terms of literature, we're still very limited in what's out there. I think everyone's just looking at Renix. And Greg McDonald hasn't published a book for 5 years.
That's right.
Even though he posted on Facebook the other day, he's coming back and going to post some specific guides. We're relying on one guide.
Yeah.
When at the moment, we've got quite a lot of people who are in the fields who could be able to, even myself, I could go out there, take time off my job and create a guide on that. But I think also, it's got to be, I think more people need to be out there, be able to be talking about it, and not just talking about how much coin is worth, because I think the issue right now, and I don't know, we'll talk about I guess we'll talk about noodling and whatever later on down the track.
Yeah.
But it's getting that information out there to people. And then I think me as a teacher, I'm big on inquiry-based learning. So you don't give them everything. You give them the starting point for them to go and do the research after, and let them find their own appreciation for that specific coin or specific note or specific component they're looking for, I guess.
Yep. Oh, I love it. It's the best way to go about it. I think it's mutually beneficial because particularly with the work that I do within the bullion industry, it can be very intimidating when someone comes up to me with a significant sum of money to invest and they say, I know nothing. Tell me what to do. And I think, geez, I'm not a financial advisor first and foremost. And secondly, I don't want that responsibility. You need to be responsible for your own finances, and you should want to learn more about it. So that's, geez, it's an interesting one.
Oh, I hate that a lot. I hate when people ask me, what coin should I buy? It's like, I'm not telling you what coins to buy.
Yeah. What do you like? What makes you happy?
Yeah, that's it. What do you find interesting? It's like, if you want to go and invest, go and see these people and go and have a chat to these people. Go speak to people like Coinworks and Downies and all those people, or Imperial Coins, and go and talk to them who are working on that level. But if you just want to just find coins that you want to buy for enjoy, go and find that passion yourself. Look what you like, what piques your interest, and then follow through after that.
Absolutely. And speaking of what piques your interest, I'm curious as to, you do a broad range on the TikTok, but is there a particular area that you personally like to collect within?
Generally anything. Polymer banknotes is big.
I can tell.
Any new issues around the world. So polymer technology is an incredible feat, and I love it. I was blessed to do a video for the CSIRO recently about polymer banknotes, which is great. So polymer banknotes from around the world, I'm big on it. Malaysian banknotes, I guess the connection with family through that. Really anything Southeast Asian, I really like. So Malaysia, Indonesia, Brunei, Singapore, Thailand is like that. And then anything cricket related, which is, the Don Bradman 20 cents is my favorite by far.
That's is that the bimetal one?
No, just
that was the $5.
2001.
The $5. Yeah.
And then there's one that came out some years back, maybe 2013 or 2016, where it was a 20-cent coin and it was stylized as a cricket ball. So it's a very minimalist design with a very small Ashes logo in back and the queen on the other side. I was like, that is essentially probably my favorite design of any coin, because the cricket ball's round. You've turned something that is essentially a 2D design into a 3D design right now. And I think that's the other thing. I think we don't appreciate Australian coins much, because that 20-cent coin we have, you've essentially turned a 2D figure into a 3D figure moving through motion. You've created motion on a 2D design. And I've high praise to Stuart Devlin and what he's done in terms of that. So those are my areas of interest, and I'll do a lot more research on those. I need to start sharing that a bit more, but I'm also about the process, the artistic brains behind it, the history behind it, all that kind of thing regarding that. So you'll find me collecting notes and coins as much as I am collecting literature on that stuff as well.
Yeah, nice one. And we have, in Australia, as some may or may not know, we have two mints. I'm aware that you've been to both, the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra and the Perth Mint in Perth. This is the big decider. Which is your favourite?
Oh, I'm gonna be
hard hitting. Yeah.
I think both mints can do a better job in how they present themselves.
Yep.
I look at the Royal Mint. I still haven't been to the Royal Mint in the UK. That's the place I'm going to go, and seeing the experiences that they put out there in terms on as a product from the Royal Mint they specialize in coin collecting. They specialize in selling old coins as well as new coins. They've got a very interactive and immersive experience as going to the Mint. But I guess when it comes to the interactive part of it, the Perth Mint wins heads down. I mean, you're watching gold pouring. You get to see that big giant coin. There's so many different exhibits there, all that kind of thing. When I went to the Royal Australian Mint, and I've been dreaming to go there as well. And I think, and the same also applies to the RBA Museum as well, is that they just haven't done enough to get people more interested into it. So you go into the Mint and it's like, oh, great. Here's a dome of $100,000 coins. Oh, here's a staircase of 5-cent coins. Here's some small exhibits, and then here's some clear ways we can look at what's going on. Where 9 times out of 10, nothing's actually going on at that time. Because they're not minting every single day. The technology is so strong and so efficient and so productive that they only need to produce for a set amount of time to create the amount they need. It's like the same process. Like I went to the Forex Beer Factory in Brisbane, and they're saying they used to produce 7 days a week, but due to technology, they only have to produce 4 days a week now.
Oh, okay.
Because the technology has improved that much. So how are you going to create, the Mint needs to look at itself, and the RBA as well. It's like, how do you create a more immersive experience, and that experience goes well beyond our physical premises and that. Yeah. And there was a job that came out with the Mint, and which all my friends said I was suited for recently, about that sort of education officer program deliverer thing in Canberra. I was very tempted, but I just signed a contract with a new job, which I also love big time.
Yeah.
So Perth Mint wins hands down. But the Royal Australian Mint could become a world leader if it watches what the Royal Mint in the UK does.
Yeah, I found that I found a lack of, like you say, the references to their history and where it's all come from, and those older coins. Exactly. There's just a little. If you didn't know what you were looking at, you could easily walk past the holy dollar. It's just an unsuspecting display on the wall as you're walking through. I'd like to see a
Yeah.
whole room dedicated to it, and show me how it all works.
Oh, they could easily triple, quadruple the floor plan of that. They've got a separate building which is not used anymore. The old mint room, the old factory when they opened in 1965, there's not even used anymore for anything.
Oh,
So,
really? I didn't know that.
Well, so they've got the main building where they do the production in, which is
Yeah.
where the main exhibit is, but they've got that other building, which I don't know if things go into, or is there offices now, whatever. But you could easily transform that into a complete immersive mint experience. I've been to the Bank of England Museum in London as well, and that was really good. Even though it's a small museum, it was a very interactive museum as well. So if you create more, I guess, tactile, immersive, thought-provoking exhibits, along with a supportive website and social media that can link all that together, you're going to create a big thing. Like, I mean, the fact that the Royal Mint in the UK sell old coins and also value coins as well.
Yeah.
Like, you're putting a one-stop shop there, which is incredible.
Yeah, and the Royal Australian Mint, they used to authenticate 1930 pennies and things like that. And they stopped doing that. You used to be able to get a signed document saying that they'd inspected it and it met all their criteria. So maybe it's just one of those things as they move towards more newer technologies, they've sort of forgotten the importance of the older stuff.
Yeah, I think the big issue now is they're just looking to make great products. And I think they're just churning way too much. And a lot of them is just like, oh, more people in coin collecting. Let's make as many products as we can. Let's mint as many colored $2 coins as we can. Let's make as much. That term granny bait, where they make coins where old people just buy and just put aside and that's it, and they're not worth anything, or they actually go down in value just purely because of the precious metal value if it goes down. So I think the mint's become an arm of the government which is trying to make profits rather than to actually create something that's a lot more meaningful and a lot more connected to the people. And if you do that, you're going to still deliver those profits anyway. But I think it's become so one-dimensional in what they do that I think they're going to find themselves in a bit of a crisis of confidence down the track.
Oh, so that's a very. I didn't expect you to take such a critical view of it. I totally agree, and I often say that as well. That sometimes, even particularly as a dealer and being a relatively new, going out on my own, half the difficulty is keeping up with new releases. There's so many of them, and financially, you got to balance your books, and if there's 10 new releases coming out every month, you need to keep up with that. It's quite hard.
And I think the big issue is that you guys take the risk in having to buy the inventory, and you can't turn the inventory down, then you're going to lose money on that. If you look how the Royal Mint in UK does it, they don't do, this month we're making a release. They say, no, we are making a marketing campaign dedicated to this release. And the release they do around it is just incredible. So like when they did the 50p coin for the 50 Years of Pride in the UK, that campaign they did was just remarkable. They had a float at the Pride Parade in London. They had an incredible series of stories on their website, on Facebook and on Instagram. Even the packaging that surrounds their coins is not just a card like that. It's a full open thing like they've done with every other product. It's like a full immersive educational experience. It's like, I might be paying £18 for 50p coin, but I've actually got a genuine product here which shows me the coin and then the history of why they've done it through there. So it's like, oh, cool. It's the first Tuesday of the month, first Thursday of the month. We're going to release 8-9 different coins. And so because of that, your marketing strategy is completely messed up because you're trying to sell 8 different products or 7 different products at the same time. And so that's why you got so much, and that's why I feel like you got so much leftover stock across dealers across the mint that they can't get rid of because they don't know what their focus is. They're trying to make so many different products because they think there's demand here and there or whatever, and just end up being a lot of wastage that goes out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd experienced that firsthand, being on the behind the counter, managing shops and seeing some of the releases that didn't hit the mark. You end up with a lot of leftover stock and things like that. But I often go back, particularly with things like PNCs. I love picking up some of that older, undervalued stock for bargain prices because there's some interesting stuff out there that ultimately has gone sort of under the radar. So there is a silver lining to that, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. It's funny, like the Perth show recently, the Perth Stamp and Coin show, Australia Post were there. They had so many PNC releases selling for $5 a pop. And then there's other stuff like, so Emma Roberts was clearing out a whole bunch of stuff recently. Like they had the proof 1988 $5 coin, and they had the proof 84 $1 coin. And I bought them very, very cheap. But then that $5 coin proof ended up selling for $55 online on a Facebook group.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
Well, that's it. The benefit of keeping your eyes peeled.
Keeping your eyes peeled, because you might find some. Well, I'm not someone who wants to flip and make a profit. I was like, oh, cool. I'm just buying these extra in case I'm going to give away as prizes in my competitions down the track. But if you have a keen eye and know what's going around, and you do your normal research as well as look at the market, there's big potential in there to make it. But I think so many people are so focused on colored $2 coins at the moment. It's just, I don't. There's a lot of undervalued stuff out there. I definitely know that, but there's also a majority that is majorly overvalued, which is concerning.
Well, so in summary, to draw this to a bit of a close, because I do honestly, we're going to have to do this again, because I think we could probably go for a few hours comfortably, and I'm mindful of the time. So if you could, in summary, if you could give a little bit of advice to someone who's on the fence about collecting, they have a passing interest, but they don't know where to start, what would you suggest to them?
Find that emotional connection that you have with that one coin or one note that you have, right? So it might be something that your grandparents might have had. It might be something that you saw a design of something once. And then link that. There's so many coins and notes out there with so many different themes, so many different countries, whatever it is that you want to find, just find that one niche about it and then start from there. And then from there, once you start, do your interest, do your research. Definitely, I know the term do your research is overdone, but I mean, actually go and find out some information about the history of the coins and the notes or the process, and get in depth, because there are some amazing stories that are like, I can see the book you got behind that, Andrew Crellin's book right there, is an incredible story of how currency became to be in colonial Australia. So do your research, find out the history, find your niche, and then just grow it from there, and then, join the Facebook groups, follow your people on Instagram and TikTok. To be fair, I'm probably the only one that's being informative, not actually noodling coins and giving that. I'm probably aware of that in that sense, but there's some amazing people out there, and dealers like yourself, and and Australian Specialty Coins and Emma and Pebble Penny. They've got a wealth of knowledge. So start small, find your niche, do your research, and then grow it from there. That's my advice.
I completely agree. Very, very wise words. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on for the first official interview. I've got a feeling this is going to have to be, a recurring series or something, because I've barely even scratched the surface of the list of questions. So for anyone watching, I've got links in the description. You can find Joel, aka The History of Money, all over the internet, and probably even, and a news headline if you check out the news.
Thanks, Matt. It's been incredible to chat to you. Let's keep in touch.
No worries. Thanks for coming on board, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, mate.